Welcome to Levis's Corner House. This is the second show of the Alive in the Cracks series. We're here in Levis's in the outback in Ballydehob, West Cork.
We'd like just a few little thank yous, mainly Minister Catherine Martin and her Department of Culture, who've part-funded this whole series, which is amazing, and are also supporting the Live Venue Collective all around the country, which we're part of, which is amazing. Today we have an amazing lineup of spoken word and music. First up is Mr. David Jackson.
Thanks for coming out. Thanks for braving the cold weather out here. I'm going to take this mic off if that's all right. Alive in the cracks. The crack is alive and well. And alive in the cracks. I'm just going to shimmy this over here. How are you doing? Are you warm enough? Joe's done a good job up here. He's making his way up the garden. So yeah, I'm going to start the ball rolling here. We've got some great people here today. So I find it hard though to really pinpoint the target when I started this jargon. It was some time between gargling the spirits and bargaining with the reaper just to leave me another week for partying. What a life this is, that we tarnish with marketing, branding our holy bodies just to feel whole and be known as somebody. You know, the peephole of the phone screen holds us hostage. So many don't know how to sow seeds and prosper. So people, they grow weak from eating the fodder of leading products who mislead us, turning people to dollars and digits. Knowledge is nothing without the promise of wisdom. And this is something that I've been thinking about at least, you know, because the last time, funnily enough, it's, 5th of December 2020, and this is the first live gig I've done this year. And the last live gig I did was last year. When did you have Secret Song, lads?
Last October.
Was it October? So it was October last year I was here. And I was talking about Fionn McCool. I was talking about, in the set, I was talking about the story of the salmon and knowledge, you know. And the reason I was talking about it is because after the gig I was going up to the Midlands and I was working for the winter up in the Slieve Blue Mountains. And that's apparently where it happened to him as a boy, you know. And this team has been like following with me. It's almost full cycle now. I'm back here talking about it again. And this idea of, you know, knowledge is nothing without the promise of wisdom. So I just wanted to like share a few of my thoughts over the last year because I've been mulling this over quite well. And if I don't get it off my chest, I may die. So sorry, that's too harsh nowadays. But one thing I suppose is that, like, you know, you could think of knowledge as something in our heads, you know, our minds and our thoughts. And from what I've found and just like in my own experience, it seems that like wisdom is like something like the balance between the head and the heart and having them in harmony, you know, and not one swaying. Because it seems in the world now that everything is so dichotomized, you know, you're pushed to the extremes and it's getting, I just think, like a bit of balance, you know. And one of the things I like about the story, so I might just give it a little snippet. Does everyone here know the story of the salmon knowledge? So just for anyone listening that might know, like, you know, the nutshell version is that like young Fionn McCool was training with the druid Finnegas, who was trying to capture this fish that contained, if you ate it, had all the knowledge of everything. And eventually he finally caught it and he left young Fionn there to cook the fish, and he ran off to get more fire, let's say, or more wood for the fire. And Fionn was there turning the fish meticulously, making sure it wouldn't burn, when a blister appeared, and he was freaking out, so he popped the blister just to be sure. He didn't want it to be ruined. He wanted it to be perfect for Finnegas. And when he popped the blister, of course, he burnt his thumb. And what do you do when you burn your finger? You shove it in your mouth to ease the pain, like, and that's what he did. And there was a little drop of oil from the fish on his thumb, and when he tasted that, you know, he had all the knowledge. And that was the story. And I've been mulling it over, and it seems that the hands seem to be like the vehicle that brings the head and the heart together, you know, because they're what we take our action. You know, this whole world is built with human hands, you know, and they seem to be like the thing that brings it together. And I just love the irony, or the funny thing is that, like, nowadays our knowledge is at our fingertips, just like Fionn had the knowledge at his fingertips with the fish. Our knowledge is at the fingertips with all our devices, you know. And the irony again is that with all the power that those devices have and everything they can do, at the end of the day, they were created with the hands that hold it, you know. I really like that. Have you ever heard of an artist named Matthew Shaw? He's a singer, and he's got this song called Chop 'Em Down, and he's got a line in it I really like, and the line is, from the forest itself comes the handle of the axe, you know. And I think that's like us with technology, you know, we're objects of our own demise in a way. But anyway, getting back to Fionn, and you know, the head, it could be, you could call it objective thinking, but nowadays it's like objective thinking is subjected to the expert opinions of fact checkers who put pressure on the backs of the peasants who act special by asking some questions. And therein, I think, lies the answer in the question, because there's a really important part of that story, and maybe if you learned it in school, you mightn't have heard it, and most of the time they leave it out, and I think it's a really important bit, where we can say, oh yeah, he tasted the fish and then he had all the knowledge of everything. But it's not like he was just streaming everything at all times, you know, the stocks for the NASDAQ and all, you know, like he wasn't just tapped in all the time. As the story goes, as Fionn grows up, whenever he's in a difficult situation, he puts his thumb in his mouth. And when he does that, he knows what he has to do. So what it is he's tapping into his intuition. It doesn't tell him go left or right. It just says, maybe you shouldn't do that or go there or whatever. Whereas the opposite is with us, you know, we're constantly asking the question, you know, and we're not actually opening ourselves to the answer. So anyway, that was just my stuff I had to get off my chest and say it to you and, you know, vent it out now that they're the only people that I've seen in the last year. So yeah, that's the message, you know, that the mind stores knowledge and the hands hold wisdom. Time, it grows profits, but so does the system. We got finite fossils in full throttle. No stopping the progress we've bottled. Weak models get thrown in the scrap heap. There's an app for the anxious and happy. This generation generates information for a database in a satellite station. Chained to the life of a tribe who subscribe payments. Calls are free. Subsidizing the price of engagements. Talk is cheap. Talk to the people in your housing estate, the neighbours over the way. We are more than a wave, a whole earthquake. Shake this globe awake, shake this globe awake. And of course, at all times, beware of the metadata monster. Never let it listen, because I'm betting that it wants to. Beware the toes that are tipping in the tech world, gripping on your phone. They want to own and control your conscience. Say no to the nonsense. Say no to the nonsense. And beware the metadata monster. That's my children's story anyway, that if I had children I would tell them to beware of that monster. But you know, it's out there and it's knocking around. But I think here in this beautiful place, I don't think there's any fear of them listening to us here in Levis's. Like, I don't think the Silicon Valley geniuses would be listening. I mean, even if they heard what me and Joe were scheming, they probably wouldn't believe us. Call us feckin' Egypts, you know. But just to be sure, just to be careful, I purposely scripted all of these scriptures with encrypted hand gestures. You know, so there's no chance that they can even understand when I'm exhaling letters too clever for metadata collections to even reference this setup. No. I never let up a second or split myself into segments begging for intervention. I'm into introspection, respecting simple blessings. The essence of a present is nested in your presence. So this Christmas, and I say this to you and anyone watching, wherever you are watching, is that this Christmas, the best present that you can give to someone is your presence in the present. You know, so just be with the people you love and just pay no attention to the fuss, because that is the best gift, I believe. And I know, because I spit it best only when I've lived the lessons that I'm expressing. Never second guessing my feathers. Wings are stretched to shelter innocent from the devils and all their advocates. My pen is deadly to any enemy talisman. Blended aboriginal Irish that is accented, genuinely heavenly threaded. There's no vax against this sort of sorcerer with assorted manuscripts, born in the land of Atlanteans, sworn to transform languages. With incantations, time shaping to shift the minds of the indoctrinated with effective vibrations. I get my paycheck from the Jedi Association to keep a close eye on those tipping the scales by dipping their toe in hatred. I keep a close grip on the reins, kid, and bring my clothes in before the dripping rain soaks my patience. And there's a man at the back there who shall not be named, like a bit like Sauron, but he's nothing like Sauron. That we were working on a piece, got to do with drip drops. And I'm going to do this piece now because talking about the drops of the salmon. I suppose it's fitting. So I'm standing at the bank of a river's edge, and I'm staring at this strange rectangular box dropped amongst the rocks of the riverbed. Now I'm aware that this square is a cavity block, but at the same time it's not. This riverbed block represents something else. You see, the other rocks are pure soul. Every stone rolled from the mountaintop. They're caught up in the current of life, cracked under the sun and crushed under the ice. The flow makes them discover inside by slowly stripping away, reshaping their size. It seems like only when we change with the rhythm of decay does any living take place. Without it, we are caged in this hollow grey block where the spectrum of chaos and order is lost. We maintain our colours through our circles of trust who don't trust circles outside of the box. Maybe they're scared of the square because they get cornered a lot. But this life is a river with no borders or stops, returning home to the ocean. We all are the one drop. And I think that's what happened when Fionn tasted that drop. He wasn't just tasting, the fish. He was tasting a salmon that had been distilled in the river, that had been infused with the hazelnut that had dropped from the tree that grew beneath the great solar oak that was part of the wider universe. I think what he was tasting really was a remembrance that he was a part of everything, and that in that case he didn't need to know anything because he was everything. So I think, especially with what's going on in the world now, we could all do with tasting that drop, or at least to a little extent, because there's something magic. There's something really magic when you get Adam and Eve to start relaxing their atoms and genes, activating the talents that we drastically need. No, there's no need for this gun clapping when you're ecstatic with peace. I hold no malice towards all these actions of greed, but sadness is something that I often do feel. But still, I'm glad I'm on this planet. Trust me, there's times I wish that I hadn't landed. I mean, imagine if I had been delayed in the outer rings of Saturn's roundabout rays, I wouldn't even be here in this transformational space. And it is such a transformational time in the world, that spans the panorama of the ecliptic, paradigm-shifting age in which we are gifted upliftment to lift up and rearrange that which is out of place. And I don't mean to be in outer space, because I believe grounding should be seen as the foundational base in the equation that is the health of our mental state. What I'm saying is, I believe in the power of natural pace. Not this 7-day cycle which recycles our brains with devices which advise us, statements and ratings creating new excitement. I believe age-old guidance is more decisive. I believe in the power of natural pace. I mean, the entire human race, we were raised under cycles of solar rays, the shifting of ice and ecosystem change. It seems like crisis has a way of bringing aliveness awake. May you live your life with every fibre and taste any drop that's offered to you, and keep that aliveness coming awake here at Alive in the Cracks. And thank you for being here, and do come back. And I'm going to introduce our next. This is going to be a rolling evening, afternoon for you. So could you please put your hands together for our next act, Catherine Cunningham.
Thank you, David. Check the tuning here first. It's lovely to be invited to a spoken word gig. I'm not sure Cormac really realised I was more of a musician, but I'll try and cover some of the spoken word bases. Do I need to plug this in? So my first spoken word song is called Deja Vu, and it's a sort of a thought experiment on what it might be like to try and go back in time. Well, I got me a ticket to yesterday. Just a couple of scenes I wanted to replay. One or two things I thought I could say a little different. conductor came around looking for my fare. Said if I was you, I wouldn't go there. But I'm not you, so I don't care. Sit back and enjoy the ride. 'Cause we are all just traveling here. Yeah, we are all just traveling here. Well, I guess we must have been halfway there when the conductor come back looking for my fare. I said, don't you remember? I paid you back there somewhere. Was that yesterday or tomorrow? Well, I showed her my ticket, but she just stared. She said, you know, I'm not you and I don't care, but it seems you're trying to get somewhere that doesn't exist. Now, you could spend your time trying to go back. You could spend your time building your own tracks, or you could take a little time and face the facts. Nobody knows where this train is going. We are all just traveling here. Yeah, we are all just traveling here. The conductor come back looking for my fare. Said if I was you, I wouldn't go there. I said, but you're not me and you don't care, and I already got me a ticket. And I said, I think I'm having a deja vu. She said, if I was you, I'd be having one too, but I'm not you, and this ticket says you're not due to travel till tomorrow. So I handed her over another fare. She said, now don't get me wrong here, it's not like I care, but here's a little something I'd be happy to share for free. Well, there's folks who'll take your money and pretend they can take you back to way back when. They can put it all back together again, but they can't. Because there wasn't no then, there wasn't no wall, there wasn't no sin, and there wasn't no fall. There wasn't no happy ever after all, just a bunch of men didn't like the cold and the storms. Just a bunch of men, yeah, women too, all needing a story to carry them through, but needing something don't make it true, just like I can't make it right for you, and hey. In the end, it don't matter so much. In the end, we all return to dust. In the end, why you making such a fuss? 'Cause we're all just traveling here. You can join in on the chorus. Yeah, we are all just traveling here. We are all just traveling here. I appreciate it's difficult with a mask. Come back looking for my fare. Said if I was you, I wouldn't go there. I said, but you're not me and you don't care, and I already got me a ticket. She said, I think I'm having a deja vu. I said, if I was you, I'd be having one too, but I'm not you, and I know I've paid right through to yesterday. She said, it don't matter who's right or who's wrong here. It don't matter who's weak or who's stronger. It just matters you come along for the ride. Spend your time trying to be right, paying your bills and holding on tight, making sure everything is justified, and still, in the end, we cannot tell if this train is going to heaven or hell. That being the case, you might just as well sit back and enjoy the ride. One more time. 'Cause we are all just traveling here. Yeah, we are all Thank you. Thanks. I start with the easiest one, but I don't think I did. Thanks for singing along. Sure, that helps. The next song is called The Square Root of Two. It started off as a bit of a midlife crisis song, and then it became a theory of everything song. And as I was kind of trying to hone in on what my theory was about, what I was proving, I came across this amazing story from ancient Greece. And it was set in Pythagoras' school for elite mathematicians. And trying to make the story short, what happened was a young mathematician suggested that the number that was the square root of 2 was an irrational number. Now, at the time, they didn't have irrational numbers, and 2,000 years later, we don't bat our eyelids at the idea of them. But at that time, the whole idea of a number that went on and that you couldn't write down in an ordinary fashion, that was considered deeply subversive, and they felt like it might overthrow their whole undertaking. So what's really interesting is what did these champions of reason and logic do? Did they use reason and logic and evidence and deduction to prove him wrong? Or did they do what any good fascist and ideologue might do? Well, they had him taken to the river and drowned, because that's how you deal with someone who's who's threatening your enterprise. So it was all very tragic, of course, for the young man involved, but it turned out to be a bit of a godsend for my song. Because the square root of 2 now represents those things that we're not allowed to say, the things that people want to silence, the evidence or the theory, the things that we might destroy someone else or destroy their career for. And yet, in 100 years' time, people will look back and say, what was the big deal? Why were you so upset? And my thinking, too, is that if there are humans on this planet in 100 years' time, they'll be looking back and saying, why weren't you concerned about the things that really mattered? Why weren't you counting the things that really counted? So this brings me right back into my square root of 2. See that river flowing, but don't pay no mind to my years. Wise men sit by the river and they tell us that they could sell us a cure for our fears. But you could put a dam in that river, you won't bother it long. You'll just find that you're sitting in a stagnant pool, and the thing that you wanted, it's gone. But don't be listening to me, don't believe it 'cause I say, guess we each gotta find it our own way. Everybody's gotta learn to reach out, everybody's gotta learn to fall. Everybody's gotta learn that we can get what we want and be left with nothing at all. Flowers keep on flowering, they say it's not for me. They got the sweet thing going with the butterflies and the honeybees. And all the reasons why tell us they don't give a damn. All the reasons why, and still I take it where I can. I try to listen to them, but I can't believe the things they say. Guess we each gotta find it our own way. When they opened the hive, it was too late. We argued over what it meant. While the flowers, the bees, everybody but we knew the tree was her own argument. That river keeps on flowing, all full of wonder and pain, all full of nothing to hold on to, all full of no one to blame. No one walks without wounds here, no one cries without rain. And all the king's horses and all of his wise men, they don't even begin to explain. But you're not listening to me. You say I make no sense, no how. It's just I got me a real close-up look at reason, and I can't quite believe in her now. Bees keep on flying. Who knows how long for? All the things we've relied on, they don't seem so certain anymore. Wise men sit by the river, they say the only certainty here is change. Wise men should sit in my garden, they'd see the only certainty here is rain. And slugs! Slugs, they keep on coming. They come from my carrots and my beans. I used to believe in God and forgiveness, till I seen what they done to my greens. Ah, but you're not listening to me. You don't even see why you should. You've learned to count in abstract amounts, but now try counting a field that's in flood. 'Cause when the bow breaks, it will be too late then to figure this out. Too late then to figure that the things we've been figuring on do not count. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, 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 Music, it keeps coming. Who knows where it comes from? Yeah, there's folks they say they know, and their songs just go on and on. I try to listen to them, but they keep going around on the same tune. It's like they can't hear the bend in the river, or the dish making out with the spoon. But now you're turning away from me. You say I make no sense no more. But hey, I used to sleep with reason and logic. It's just we couldn't agree on the score. So now I'm doing my own research, my own special theory of nudity. And it asks why it is the people who walk around naked are always those we prefer not to see. That river keeps on flowing, all full of war and lies, all full of things that don't make so much sense, and the promise of butterflies, full of horses and wise men promising to set us free, emperors that don't got no clothes, and when people just don't want to see. I was taking a break from my research when I met her one night in a dance. She said there's nothing more logical than what is, but the truth, that's a deadly romance. He ran to the master excited, all full of this new world that he'd found. But the square root of two threatened all that they knew, and he was taken to the river and drowned. 'Cause that's the way it is with belief, that's the way it is with power. It's all peace and love until push comes to shove, and you threaten their flags and their towers. That's the way it is with wise men, that's the way it is with fools. But that river will turn, and that river will rise up and wash away all of our rules. That's the way it is with the river, that's the way it is with the sea. That's how it is with songs that go on, and that's the way it is with me. Thank you very much. That song has two more parts before I get to finally prove my point. Okay, I'm going to do one more. Sort of the question to stay in safe territory now or otherwise. It's all safe territory, really. It's not a new song, but it's sort of newer, and it maybe ties in a little bit with what David was saying, so that's why I'll not do the easiest thing. It's a song called God's Shadow in the Cup. Some of you who are as old as I am who did Austin Clarke's Blackbird of Derry Cairn might remember. It comes from a stanza, stop, stop and listen, for the bow top is glistening, and the sun itself is brighter than God's own shadow in the cup now. So it's basically Austin Clarke is talking to St. Patrick and all his compatriots back there. And he's doing what artists do. We can talk to people for 14 centuries earlier. And he's saying, Patrick, would you ever just get out of your monastery, leave your morning matins and your Bible, and step out into the world and see what it might show you? So I took that phrase, and as I was thinking about it last night, I think I actually took the whole song from him. You can't really claim royalties at this point. If the words that they have told you here leave you empty, leave you dry. And though their words be wise and true, they are for you as lies. Drinking at their well now, you never shall fill up. No, the sun itself is brighter than God's shadow in the cup. And all that you think you are here, toss it to the wind, and be unto this world a child of life, and learn to see again. And though you know not where you are now, have none other as your guide, but be unto yourself a boat, a beacon and a light. And all this world could be your wisdom, though it burns like fire, it will cleanse like rain, until you find arise within you all the love you lost when you turned from the pain. I do not know these things you speak of. I have no board, I have no skin, I am cold, oh so weary, I'm torn upon these rocks, I am floundering. And all this world must be your wisdom, though it burns like fire, may it cleanse like rain, until you find arise within you all the love you lost when you turned from the pain. And Thank you. Thanks very much to Cormac and David and to Levis and all the sound people and the light people and the taxpayers. And stay safe, stay warm, stay happy. Thank you.
How's it going, Levis's? All right, we're at a gig. Oh, yeah. Okay, my name is Cormac Lally. I'm originally from Tullamore. Moved down here almost 6 years ago. Bought a house, settled down. Brought the wife and the kids. Had another kid down here. And so it's safe to say now that we're fairly well settled in down here. But probably our grandchildren then will be considered locals. I think that's the tradition here. We'll never be. We'll always be blow-ins. I'm a professional speechwriter. I write poetry for a living, which means I'm technically self-unemployed. And it's great. It really is great to be able to pick your own hours and to look after the kids and to kind of live life on your own terms. And first piece I'm going to do is kind of a seasonal piece. I wrote it last Christmas, and I was kind of normally I perform everything off by heart, but I kind of wanted to bring a couple of new pieces into it today. And because of the self-unemployment and looking after the children, you don't always get the time to learn these things off. So this is why I have the old cheat sheets today. Is that okay? I hope you don't mind. So this first piece was inspired by the washing up, believe it or not, and just one of those, when you get time just to stare out the window and just, men, we live our heads in boxes, the nothing box. This is his favourite box, this is the box that men love to live in. It's just where you just don't have to think about anything, But anyway, my child was on a laptop ban, which meant I also had to entertain her whilst washing the dishes. And so I just said, you know what, Tess, would you just write the Christmas cards and I'll call out the stuff to you. And I was like, look at this, So I was able to do this thing. So this is called a father-daughter moment. It's 2 weeks before Christmas and I'm at the kitchen sink, one of those rare quiet dad moments when you get a chance to think. My daughter's off her head with boredom and there's no laptop allowed, and the list of chores now looming is a black and hanging cloud. Now, the feat of multitasking isn't confined to one gender. The universe provides me with the tools to cool her temper. And in a rare outlying case of homo multilaboris, I make her write the Christmas cards as I dictate the chorus. Dear Pat and Sean and Mary, all the uncles and the aunts, season's greetings, hope to see you when we're up if there's a chance. Second cousins we are close to, and friends from Christmas past, dwell on ghosts of Christmas futures which never came to pass. And her 7-year-old fingers are fluid in their focus. She's adding teddy bears and unicorns. She's gassed my little lotus. Then suddenly from nowhere she hits me with a question. Where do we all come from? In her innocent expression. Now, sideways, I suppose, is the most apt of close descriptions of my direction, her directness, that probed with inquisition. So I cleared what remained of my cloudy, daddled mind, and provided her our lineage, folding back through time. My own folks and how they met, and where, and offered no one harm, the betrayal and the hardships and the fallouts over farms. I told her of the freedom fighters that fought the black and tans, great uncles, flying columns, and a grenade-throwing gran. And her missionary brother, through Kenya's bloody struggles, hid refugees and families and snuck them through the jungle. Great Auntie Katie went to Queensland and married an MP, of how the checks would land each year to help her family. And how on her return home with her husband from Brisbane, they got for bands first flushing toilet and evolved to porcelain. Grandad Fallon, fleeing Britain's draft and made it to New York, joined the infantry at Campdings when the Lusitania sank off Cork. I tales of living legend relatives that wed Sicilian circus folk who settled out in Muckler when their final wagon broke. Ooh, I hate pages. And all our artists and the outcasts as far back as I could go, the Cunniffs, the Winds and Claffeys, is that enough? She then says, no. Before that, Daddy, were there dinosaurs? Says I, yes, but that was ages. So I racked my neural pathways and their quantum mental pages. The far-off histories of Ireland, as best I could recall, the Fina, the originals, not the wankers in the doll, the little folk, and of how hunger broke, the Ice Age to the Vikings, Brian Boru and Grania Whale, the Book of Durrow's writings, the iron grip of Cromwell and the whip of papal rope, the Masrogs and the Druids and the visions that brought hope. Divisions then that shattered trust, inscribed our lore in blood, how Good Friday brought a rebirth of not just peace but open pubs, and all the yarns and myths and legends of the bloodlines we inherit, for being Irish is a chromosomal trait of ancient merit. I did my best resisting Google for filling in the blanks. She returned to Yuletide greetings with a simple nod of thanks, and some sort of understanding passed between us in the ether. We scrubbed and scribbled silently towards the task that I bequeathed her. And bar inquiries of spellings of my relatives' abodes, we were ignoring altered digispeak of new age sought air codes. We addressed and stamped the envelopes and readied them for post. And this treasured father-daughter moment is what has measured Christmas most. Thank you. You're right, we're in. Right. I'd like to touch on something Dave said about the salmon, that we have this knowledge at our fingertips, but we've never had as much information and misinformation and theories and conspiracy theories and anti-conspiracy theories. So we've never had as much information, but we've never been so confused, especially when it comes to the old coronavirus, Ooh. A virus so lethal, you have to get tested to know if you have it. But we should be allowed to ask questions about where we're headed. And this is a poem called Headed. So I'm just not sure of what's the score or whereabouts we're headed. If this is it, apocalypse or armchair Armageddon. And Ireland's soul, she draws the dole, and lockdowns implemented. And we're confused, elites enthused, now COVID has descended. The left and right just rant and fight and call each other Nazis. So I just yawn and mow my lawn and smile at these poor patsies. Trump and Biden, Epstein's Island, cosmic interference. Trump, Pence and Harris, I'm embarrassed. They should be harassed on appearance. William Gates will vaccinate, your consent is not required. The Great Reset, a likely bet, it's the next phase of empire. And the mask has slipped, stock markets dipped, and penury is looming. The with or from debate runs on through social distant grooming. And from the radio to YouTube bros, from the truthers to mainstream, it's the Daily Scare, Elm Street Nightmare, Division's Joy Daydream. The talking heads are fully fed from neck down to the belly, and they've rationed all the rationale of what we see on telly. And Republicans, our pubs are gone, and with it social notions of pints and songs and rights and wrongs to pour out our emotions. Conspiracy? Please don't ask me. I know as much as you. For your third eye lends coloured pens to what you think is true. Where rabbit holes and rabbit moles and rapid interactions, where scattered souls meet battered trolls for battle between the factions. The plans are laid, don't be afraid, there's nothing we can alter. These billionaires seek millionaires to serve them nights in Malta. And chipped and pinned, the world will spin, the big wheel keeps on turning. In open graves or human slaves through artificial learning. Please don't forget the good turn, and to yearn for honest labour. The smile of strangers isn't dangerous, and that'll be your saviour. And whether warfare will somehow dwarf care, don't let that be default. Human kindness, open-mindedness, embrace for its insult. For the powers that be, their sour honey is centuries in planning. On rare blue moons, these spare few loons, our frequencies they're jamming. There's no one dropping, doing shopping, take off your mask and smile. Open borders, new world orders, should only last a while. And their lined up planes and hurricanes are whims of their existence. But they will burn, and they will learn that love's the true resistance. So unplug your mug, just turn and shrug, the end is near for certain. Hold loved ones dear, hold loved ones near, crack open beers, ban fear behind the curtains. My artisans, turn partisans, hug fellow human beings, pluck your strings and fecking sing, their one eye is all seeing. But their machines, they cannot dream, despite their crown and rod, and the last word on their past hurts well. That word belongs to God. Thank you. Like I said, I'm self-unemployed, stay-at-home dad. My beautiful feminist wife is the main breadwinner in the house. And I have to say, feminists, this is the hill you chose to die on. This is the oppression, staying at home, minding the kids. I gotta say, you could have picked a better hill to die on, man, than this one. It's great, I love it. I really do, man. It's a job you can do in your pajamas. Like, you don't even have to, like, get dressed most of the time. And it's fucking great, like, you know, you just play with the kids, you know. I was born to be it, man. I was born to be it. But I am a man. And with it comes the manly thinking of things. It's not always conducive to the warm, feathery, loving, maternal instinct that the women have. So you come up with hacks, things to get you through your day. Little things that when you implement them, everything goes smoothly along. And this is called dad hacks. So when you find yourself in parenthood, new to do's and don'ts and shoulds, there's Self-help books out there galores, there's baby gurus who are adored. Some couples have the manual, they arrive on earth without a manual, and best to look to those who breed a flock of hungry mouths to feed. They've got the knack, and nannies too, I'm satisfied enough with two. Myself, I learned a lot firsthand, served 2 tours in Vietnam. You do not know, you were not there, to hand wash it stained underwear. You try to keep the floors in check, you lose the plot, sleep patterns wrecked. But when your missus leaves the home, you get the feckers on their own. And the thin dad line staves off collapse, you set routine for your wee chaps. The boy of 2, a magnet now for mud and dirt and messy chow. Indoors, dress him inside out, and then reverse when you go out. This trick, it saves on laundry piles, left cleaning only messy smiles. It's no means no, the kids obey till mam comes home, it's daddy's way. There's no whinging or arguments, no flinging wild of condiments, no lost hairbrushes, bags or keys. Daddy's tied down all of these. As an aside, I have literally tied all these things with string to heavy things. We never lose them anymore. Maternal instinct, sure, 'tis grand, but dads must take the upper hand. You must be fair, you must be firm. At bath time when they start to squirm. At playtime when they fall and graze. At playtime when they fall and graze. At bedtime when your eyes are glazed. When crayons get stuck up their nose. When they come home in other children's clothes. When your patience and your wallet's thin. You are a dad. You're God to them. Thank you. How are we doing on time? Good? Okay, all right. I used to be fascinated by stories of, near-death experiences, and, like when your body, your soul leaves your body and you travel out and you see all your old pets and your family, and it's like, come to the light, John, come to the light. And next thing you snap back into your body. I was always fascinated with that, And somebody, I heard a scientist say, that's just your brain's way of making dying easy because it's so traumatic. It just gives you all the good stuff that happened to you in life. And then there's other people say, no, that's the afterlife, and you're heading up to chat to St. Peter there, and he's going to have the book and open it up and have a look and see what happened, And it's very hard to know, like, what to believe. Is it your brain just helping you? Go on, yep, you're dead now. Or is it like, you're off to the next reincarnation, or the land beyond, or the next dimension, or wherever you're headed to. So this poem's called Jesus, Lads. So it's inevitable, they say, that we'll pass on some normal day. Clockwork grinding heart will stop. Something in your brain goes pop. Your life will flash before your eyes, but never time. She never dies. And their box set binge on Soul's release is said to lay the mind at ease. Of memories both gay and grim, the laugh of her, the slight of him. The ones your heart grew fondly on, the ones that washed your tears along. Our mother's breast, our father's arms, in love or lost to violent harms. The family, the flesh and blood, the ones that only showed you good. The countless prayers, the wrath of childhood built on love. The countless prayers to him above. And the birthday cakes fly past at pace. Your heart is lost to human race. But your soul experience is key, that sallied forth and fashioned me, and that blinking glimpse of mine's delight will soothe your passage to the light. And wonder not who'll keen or grieve, or Jesus, lads, do I believe? The hurts you caused, the crowd's applause, the jaws of death, the men now paused, the women gaunt in womb and wane, the pleasured hand that felt her pain. Thank them all, and love them all, and tell them they are magic all. It wasn't them that it was me, it isn't fair, that's life, you see. So make the most of given time, don't sweat or pet the life of dime, and have and hold and wholly cherish, and boldly go the day you perish. Thank you very much. How are we doing, lads?
Loads of time.
Loads of brilliant. Okay. I do get commissions for poems because that's what I do. I coach people how to get through their nerves on their wedding day, or write speeches for them. Sometimes I write it as a poem. Sometimes I write it as just a traditional speech, and help them to get over the nerves. But if anybody ever saw me backstage before a gig, I'd never get another job because I'd be biting my fingernails and sculling whiskey, which I tell everybody not to do. You know, it's a case of, you know, the carpenters, you know, the cobbler's children have no shoes. And to get to the essence of a story with someone, you know, especially a life story, a love story, you have to sit down with them. You have to get to know them. I often tell my clients it's like the confession box in here. You know, you got to be open. You got to tell me everything. You know, nothing will ever leave the room. You know, and so it takes maybe at least 2-3 hours of interviews to try and get to the nut of that person, of their story. You know, and it's a lovely thing to be able to relate back to them and to help them out, and to, you know, life is interesting. You know, and a cousin of mine, Tara Baroni, she called me up a few years ago and she said, Cormac, I have an art exhibition opening up, and I want you to write a poem to open the art exhibition. I was like, great, Tara, when can I pencil you in? And she says, what do you mean? Well, you know, I want to try and get to the real nut of, you know, what you're trying to express here through your artistic creations, and, you know, what does this picture mean and that mean? She goes, no, I'm just going to give you the name of it, and you have to write a poem about it. I was like, okay, it's not really how I work, but I'll give it a go. And it was called The Sun, the Moon and the Stars. And that was basically all I had to go on. It's called The Sun, Moon, the Stars. I need a 2-minute poem, and I'll pay you for it. I was like, grand, you had me at pay you for it. So this is called The Sun, the Moon and Stars for Tara. Past countless billions years ago, the light we know as sun was born. To partner darkness day and night, the morning came, forever sworn. A bang of sorts, the boffins say, created the whole Milky Way, and from this light came ice and fire, galaxies of God's desire. Particles of water dust combined to give the earth its crust, and on its surface evolution, creation with its revolution. As plants, as fish, as beasts, as man, our journey here since time began. And since ancestral tribal scars, we've always looked up to the stars and worshipped all and sacrificed when looking in would not suffice. We tracked the paths of constellations, saw the signs for celebrations, saw the omens for disasters, saw the gods and saw our masters, saw the lights of comet trails and showers of meteoric hail. And the poets versed and writers wrought the histories of all we were taught, the sun that shone and gave us light, the phases of the moon at night, the deities from outer space, mad aliens of other race, all early art, its inspiration, scrawled on caves by ancient nations, drawn and quartered in quantum realms, yet just a jewel on Odin's helmet. Cavemen, brave men, scared men, slave men, took the gifts that sunlight gave them, and sculpted, painted, produced sainted idols for the pulpit tainted. Sundials marked the passing hour, and moondials shone with tidal power. In artists brimmed imagined places, dreamt of far-off future faces, complexities of light-year stars, daydreams of lonely men in bars. The farmer's crop in fruitless harvest, blames assigned to planets harmless, and the poet's muse, the artist's source of inspiration, tracks its course, and upon the canvas Tara spars with the sun, the moon, and stars. Thank you very much. One more. Okay. I often get, like I said, get commissions. This is a charitable commission for the good men and women and undeclared here in Levis's pub. And when I saw the pubs were closing down, I was like, this is it, lads. Armed revolution, lads. Revolution, lads. This is going to be 1916 all over again, but it wasn't. It was 2016 all over again, where we just celebrated a rising and didn't string anyone up or anything. And everyone clapped and the politicians all slept safely sound in their beds. But the pubs are an intricate part of Irish life. whether you agree with them or not. Some people think it's great, the pubs are closed. I'm like, and that's all I'll say about that. My happiest memories are in pubs, the ones I can remember. I'm pretty sure. And a couple of places down here, man. Connolly's a Lep. Yep, for the boys, Sam and Julie and everyone over there, man, trying to turn a buck and create music. You can absolutely like lick the music off the walls in that place, and indeed I've seen people try to do that there some nights. And here as well, Levis's View. Let's hear it. So when the pubs were closing, I was like, Jesus Christ, lads, this is, what are we going to do? Like, will they ever open the pubs again? We need music. We need poetry. Pubs are magnets for this kind of stuff, like, This is why we're all here. 2 degrees outside, we're all in coats, masks, and our face diapers on, and washing the hands and drinking the hand sanitizer. Or should it be the other way around? But I had a chat to Joe anyway, and he gave me all the history of the pub. And he said, would you be able to write something? I was like, Jesus Christ, man, absolutely. Absolutely. So if you've ever been here for the Secret Song or the Jazz Parade or Monday mornings at 7 o'clock, for whatever reason you were here at those times, whether you can remember those times or not, they were probably good times. So let's hope that we're going to have a few more good times again. And this is more than a pub for Levis's. And this is my last piece, lads. Just thank you very much. So the saga starts in 1909 in beautiful West Cork. Michael Levis moved home with his savings from New York. He married the beautiful Julia, and they had a ball of smallies, knocked the wall out of the bar and added a wee grocery. And so it was through revolution and the loaded black and tans, refuge from the world of wars for pints with fellow man, where the shanos and shenanigans and politics were touted, and the broken back of empire and our independence flouted. Where memories of famine ships were fresh in people's minds, and the memories of lovers left and lovers left behind, where our rich and ancient heritage was heard on fiddle strings, and bowrons bet the pagan beats and conjured up these things. Where all the ales of history were righted till tomorrow, a place to sit and chat and share, and to try and drown your sorrows. All this and more you'll find as Joe he fills your glasses up, because we know that Levis's is more than just a pub. Julia and Nell ran a tight ship as the decades came and went. Celebrities and politicians where vacation time was spent. Advice would be forthcoming as the ladies always chatting. They told Kevin Costner he'd never get rich if he kept up the acting. So now she passed in 2013 and Caroline and Joe moved home. They took this place on by themselves to try to get it grow. They slowly added sessions and their reputation grew and their magnetism pulled in the likes of me and you. Niall Connolly with his soulful voice. Duke Special ran the tunes all night. Lee Mumwelly's lunchtime gigs. Tradfest sessions, reels and jigs. Oh, excuse me. Bean and Irene's late night hoolies. Stephen James Smith goosebumps truly. Brendan O'Hara from Miami. Bouncing babies, dancing grannies. Mick Flannery and Innie Kay. Truckstop Honeymoon blew us away. Stuart Wilde sings Hallelujah. Susan O'Neill's voice comes through you. Claire Sands makes you hold your breath. Glenn Hansard, Dave Jackson, Oh Pep. These memories that the pub supplied, the community that stands with pride. And pandemics will come and go, austerity's bitter ebb and flow. The powers that be try limit choices, but we'll have freedom through our voices. The Irish Whip and Rosie's Bar, a coffee and buds, a coveted Michelin star. And friends will come and mourn our dead. We'll seek the melodies that calm our heads, the jazz parade, the secret song, bands playing with nothing on. It's a true story. These simple things we took for granted now seem far away and a bit enchanted. But we'll be back soon, and then for good, because we know that Levis's is more than a pub. Thank you very much, guys. Give it up one more time for David Jackson, first performer here tonight. To Catherine Cunningham on guitar and the tunes. And we're going to leave it at that, guys. Good night, stay home, God bless. Sick here.